This is Dr. J. Kent Gregory, and welcome to part 3 of Chapter 4, Recruitment. So in this section of Chapter 4, we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of various recruiting methods, as well as talking about yield ratios and some objective ways to measure the advantages and disadvantages. So here we'll look at a few. Outside recruiters, like search firms, also known as headhunters, and temporary employment agencies can be time saving because you're outsourcing it. But then these can be expensive, and you have less control over the final candidates to be interviewed. Although this becomes less of an issue, once you have a comfortability with the recruiter. And then there's campus recruiting and at educational institutions, which many of you all may be familiar with. So you can hire people to grow with the organization, and it's a plentiful source of talent. This becomes time consuming because you have to send a recruiter from your organization to the campuses. And it's only appropriate for certain types of experience levels. So really, we're talking about, entrance into the job market, either as many of you all have experienced as interns, after sophomore, junior year, perhaps, and then, true first full-time employment, after the senior year. Other recruitment methods are professional organizations and associations. They're industry specific, that networking is involved, and you may have to have a fee to place an ad, and it may be time consuming to do the networking. There's websites, as we all know, and internet recruiting. It's diversity friendly, which is a big plus, low cost, and it's quick. Problem is it could be too broad, and you have to be prepared to deal with many, 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 many resumes. And then similar to the websites are social media. It's very inexpensive. And again, it can be time consuming and you can get an overwhelming response. You can do it at events, access a specific target market. The events can be expensive and you may not get necessarily the right target market or a special interest group. It's industry specific. And the downsides is that research is required for specific special interest groups tied to the jobs. Referrals, we've talked about referrals quite a bit. Advantages is that you can get higher quality people this way. You have a greater chance of retention, so less bleed of employees. Problem is you can run into lack of diversity and its cousin, nepotism. Uh, Another recruitment method is just unsolicited resumes and applications. Advantages, inexpensive, especially with time-saving keyword resume search software, but it can be time-consuming, right? Internet and/or traditional advertisements, you can target a specific audience, but again, that can be expensive. Some more employee leasing. So for smaller organizations that works out because you don't have to administer the benefits and compensation. And this can be a good alternative to temporary employment if the job is permanent. So you're leasing employees. So these are not temp agencies. Public employment agencies, no cost. It's a government agency. Potential ability to recruit a more diverse workforce. 2,300 points of service nationwide. You may get a lot of resumes, which can be time consuming. And then labor unions. Through labor unions, you get access to specialized skills. Disadvantages is that it may not apply to some jobs or industries. And disadvantages, it builds a relationship with the union, which actually can be a plus or a minus. So it may be if you're in a industry which does use unions, it's good to build that relationship. At the same time, though, you may not necessarily want to be tied to a union. So some objective ways to measure recruiting methods. So in the recruiting process. So there's the cost of recruitment, and this is the way to measure that is you want to look at how much does it cost per hire. So the cost per hire is going to include advertising costs plus recruiter costs plus referral costs plus social media costs plus event costs, and you're going to divide that by the number of hires in the time period. So basically, all the costs that are associated with uh, the advertising and the recruiting, and you divide that by the number of hires in the particular time period. You can also get more complex with this by considering soft costs like your time, and then you can, if you're using software, you might spread that cost over a number of time periods or jobs. So things to think about. Uh, and then the yield ratio. This is going to be a great tool to see how effective different recruiting methods are. So this is the percentage of applicants from one source who make it to the next stage in the selection process. So you might look at the yield ratio for, college recruiting, right? And your knowledge of these numbers is going to get better the more you do this. So that brings an end to chapter 4, recruitment. Hope you enjoyed that, and thank you much.